Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Aghny Maghfiroh. Today I will make a video to complete my mid-semester exam for the translating and interpreting course. So there are 7 questions. The first question is what is the difference between translating and interpreting? The second is what is the purpose of interpreting? The third is explain some types of interpreting. The fourth is what competencies should an interpreter have. The fifth is explain some practical tips to make a successful welcome speech. The sixth is based on the search, what are the key points or messages from President Obama conveyed to Prime Minister Maliki? And the last question is based on the search, what are the key points or messages from President Obama conveyed to President Joko Widodo? I will answer the first questions. What is the difference between translating and interpreting? So, the translations and interpreting both are means to support communications, but interpretations is spoken while translation is written. So the second question is what is the purpose of interpreting? The purpose is the first, bridging communications between two or more parties who use different languages. The second is the main goal of interpreting is searching the equivalence of the meaning, is not transferring the word from source language to target language by searching the equivalence of the words. The third purpose is conveying a message or communicating meaning. And the last is interpret non-verbal meanings or intentions actually from the speaker and not the linguistic meaning of language symbols. And the third question is explain some types of interpreting. So there are 4 types of interpreting. The first is dialogue interpreting. The second is consecutive interpreting. The third is simultaneous interpreting. And the last is whispered interpreting. So the dialogue interpreting, this type is form of interpreting is bidirectional, and the interpreter is inside in one room with the other party dialogue, and it for relative encounter smalls like meeting or bilateral and etc. For the consecutive interpreting is form of interpreting is one way. The interpreter is in one room or locations with speaker and listener. The speaker speaks during a while and then stop. And simultaneous interpreting is form of interpreting is bidirectional, and for large meetings, for example for seminars, workshops, etc. And this is have the time limitations. And whispered interpreting is form of interpreting is one way, used in meetings smalls with 2 people, just listeners, and the interpreter sat in behind or close to listener and speak in a small voice like whisper. So next question is what competencies should an interpreter have? The first is professionalism, like in work, like in ethics. And the next is language. They must proficient in BSU and BSA. Comprehension active and full inside BSU and BSA. Next is skills. Capable understand message, proficient in produce repeat message, understanding strategy and methodology, and smart culture. And next is knowledge broad, knowledge verbal, knowledge cognitive, knowledge contextual. Also language proficiency, fluent in using spoken language, multitasking ability, and ability to think quickly. Also the ability to speak in public, must be knowledgeable and familiar with current words, and read. So next question is explain some practical tips to make successful welcome speech. So the first is formal versus informal language. Decide whether you want to use formal or informal language. And for larger events, you might use formal language, and for smaller events, it's common to use informal language. The second is greet and welcome everyone. Start with warm welcome, like good morning to all attendees, and hello and welcome everyone, and good smiles and eyes contact. Next is talk about the event's history and purposes, like mention the motivations behind the conference, mention its histories and purpose. And next is mentions any distinguished guests and speakers, like mention them and thank them for accepting the invitations to participate. Make sure to have their names, credentials, and affiliations correct. And next is thanks creator and the organization, like give some words of appreciations to organizing committees. And next is state the main topics, like mention the main topic of the conference and the common interest for all attendees. And next is touch on the agenda, briefly outline the agenda. And next is introduce the first speaker. If the first speaker follows your welcome speech, don't forget to introduce him or her and rehearse a few times. Practice with your colleagues and friends to get some feedback and familiarize yourself with your speech. And next is it brief, and speech must be short, easily around 5 minutes. And next is in-person versus virtual event. Give a great speech and get people excited in virtually and in person. So the next question is based on the search, what are the key points or messages from President Obama conveyed to Prime Minister Maliki? So the key points there are the discussion with Prime Minister Maliki centered on Iraq's recent progress in consolidating democratic politics, the commitment to withdraw combat troops by August of the following year was reaffirmed. Additionally, there was a shift towards economic topics, signaling transitions in the bilateral relationships beyond security issues. Emphasis was placed on opportunities for business collaborations and the administration's support for Iraq's development into a secure and prosperous democratic nation. So the last question is based on the search, what are the key points or messages from President Obama conveyed to President Joko Widodo? So the key points focus on strengthening the relationship between two major democracies, particularly in trade, investment, and security cooperations. Key topics included expanding the digital economy in Indonesia to alleviate poverty, enhancing maritime security, and promoting international rules in the maritime domain, cooperation in counter-terrorism, global health security, and climate changes was also emphasized. The meeting underscored a commitment to elevating the partnerships between the two countries to a new level. So, maybe that was all from me. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.